kids, with you it's Andrea Pârvu, and today I welcome you guys back to a new video. Today we are going to discuss about Bayern Munich's tactics during this season. So without any further ado, let's get started. So I think that the best term to describe Bayern's tactics under company is fluidity. And I will start off by talking about their formations. First of all, we are going to address the defensive formation. Bayern Munich, represented with red on this board, they use a lot the formation 4-4-2. While defending, they like to do positional rotations, especially with Kimmich. Kimmich generally would drop lower and he would play either as a center back or a right back, while Kane and Gnabry would always be used as a front two in order to defend the center backs. In the attack, the formation would change to a 2-2-6, with Kimmich always going back to his defensive midfielder position, and with the attack having all of the freedom to use their creativity, to switch, to rotate and all that stuff, which strategy would also leave room for narrow fullbacks. And this strategy with the narrow fullbacks was generally used in two different contexts. So first of all, the number 10 and the number 9 were always allowed to go everywhere and explore the pitch in order to create space. I'm going to give you an example for this. Let's say that the fullback on the left decides to get the ball and go high up on the pitch. Here we have the center mid following him. The center mid would also move forward and the fullback would pass to him. He will continue as if he wants to score and the fullback would follow him, and also this other center back would focus on him, and that's when Harry Kane would generally kick in. He would advance while the center mid would pass to him, and then he would be free and he would score. And this is also the reason why Harry Kane managed to score so many goals this season, because of these actions when half space players would start behind the wide players, which would result for Harry Kane to be able to make a vertical run. And generally the striker, Kane, would slow his run in order to avoid being in the same line, which would result for the higher runner to be marked also by the second center back, as I demonstrated, and Kane would be left free. And another advantage of this formation in the attack is that they would leave their narrow fullbacks free, and that would help not encounter that many situations when their goals would be disallowed due to offsides. So first of all, they have more chances of scoring because, as I said, the attacking phase construction with a fullback is less predictable, and second of all, because it starts deep, it's less likely to have issues with the offside rule. But as any other system, also company's system has its issues. For example, the first issue that I've noticed ever since their first game this season in Bundesliga against Leipzig was the fact that when they do in the defensive phase their 4-4-2 formation, generally the front two, as I specified before, they would stay high in order to defend the center backs, which would create a large gap between the lines, which would lead for the midfield to easily be outnumbered, with wingers dropping or fullbacks going up. And this issue didn't only happen in their first game against Leipzig. I've also seen it later on in that season against Union Berlin and against other teams as well. It was something that was constantly happening, even though Company at some point he was finding solutions, and he found a solution for this problem by exploiting what he already loves to do, which is always to create confusion. And mostly he loves for the opponents to be frightened in their own half. So for example, throughout the season in the games against PSG, he would generally ask Upamecano to play more offensively. Or the second solution, which was the most frequent one to this issue, was dropping low Gnabry and asking Olise to join Kane in order to keep the pressure on the center backs. Or another solution was that many times he was dropping 9 and 7 as pivots in order to drag the center backs so that space would be created for the right back in the attack and later on create scoring opportunities. Another existing problem in the defense was the fact that in this formation, generally the backline of the 4 defenders were doing man-to-man pressing. And this can be easily read and easily fooled by rotating and dragging them, or catching them on the wrong side, or outspeeding them. Now we're going to move to their possession. I think this is an aspect that not too many people touch on, so I thought that it would be interesting to talk about it. The philosophy behind their possession is that the player generally would position themselves in order to be situated to be able to circulate the possession, but also to be ready to press if they lose the ball, which this definitely encouraged a lot the creativity of the squad and being quite unpredictable for the opponents. And the third aspect that I wanted to touch on about Bayern's tactics throughout this season was their positional rotations in the back. Here I don't have much to say because I already touched on this a bit while talking about the fluidity in the formation, but basically what I found it most significant and that had most impact on their games was the rotations that Kimmich was doing. That was the fact that he was rotating and alternating between defensive midfielder, center back or right back, and I showed you how and when he does that. Now, as a Madridista, obviously I would really like to also touch on the UCL game against Real Madrid. I know I'm a bit late to the party, I'm sorry, but still, better late than never. I think that both teams tried to balance the risk, but definitely Bayern was way more cohesive. And also, I think that something that really mattered was the fact that in this game, Bayern's main strategy was to try to keep Real Madrid as much as possible in their half under control or to counterattack. Their attacking structure was a 3-1-6, something a bit different from what I've showed you that they have done throughout the entire season. But still, they attacked really narrowly and on the right between the lines, which definitely is a pattern for them, as I showed you that they really like moving everything to the left and creating space for the right. Something interesting though that I've seen throughout this game when it comes to Real Madrid's tactics was the fact that they took advantage of the second issue that I expressed in this video, which was the man-to-man press done by the backline. And because of that reason, they were constantly rotating Vinicius and Mbappe in order to split the pitch, and that was mostly seen in the second leg in the second half. And my overall opinion was that both teams played really well. I was quite proud of Real Madrid. They played better than they played throughout this entire season. And addressing the whole red card situation, yes, I think it had its influence, but still I think that Bayern Munich was the better team in both legs, and that Bayern Munich was the team that deserved to go through. And to conclude, I really want to talk about Real Madrid's attitude in general, but especially after this game. And genuinely, I think that that red card was fairly awarded, because yeah, maybe you could say that the referee was a bit too strict, but the referee anyways had drawn attention to him twice, and you know, those are the rules. Like, if we are strictly talking like book rule, it was fairly awarded. Yeah, maybe you would say that the moment mattered and let's say the ethic and the fair play mattered, but honestly I really think that referees should be really firm and really strict, and personally I think that yes, since in the rules that was a fairly awarded red card, then so be it. I think it was completely fair and normal for the referee to award a red card to Camavinga in that situation, especially because before awarding it, he drawn attention to Camavinga twice. So I think that anyways he was polite and ethical enough, and even if not, still, it's a Champions League game. I think we should be strict and firm, and we should first of all be fair to ourselves, because Camavinga had committed a mistake. So yeah, in my opinion, that decision was completely correct and fair. I really did not like their attitude afterwards. I genuinely do not think that that's the attitude that such a big club with such history should have. Never should a club like this go out in the press and go, oh yeah, we were robbed, once again we were robbed, the referee was on their side. Jude Bellingham came out, I was shocked for the first, I think that was the best Spanish that I've heard from this man since 2 years since he moved to Spain. He said, nos falta dos amarillos, which means that they were supposed to get 2 yellows, they missed 2 yellows. Yeah, they were going crazy about this whole thing, and again about how they are robbed and how it wasn't their fault and how they were supposed to win and all that stuff. I think this is such a coward behavior, and this should never be the attitude of the greatest club in history. A club like this should take responsibility, should have dignity, and should come out and assume their actions. They were horrible throughout this whole entire season. Even in these games, yes, they were okay, but they weren't the better team. They should understand that. They should look at their flaws, reflect on them, and try to get better and try to improve. If they go out and deny all of their flaws, all of their mistakes, they will never evolve and they will never be able to achieve anything. Blaming it on the referee is extremely stupid. Referees make mistakes. That doesn't mean that they are paid or that they are corrupted. They make mistakes, and that is absolutely normal. We all do. It's impossible for perfection to exist, and even them, the ones that are complaining, the players are making mistakes, and they are the ones that did most of the mistakes that lead them to this defeat. They cannot expect from a referee to be perfect because nothing in this world is perfect, and obviously the referee sometimes would make some mistakes that shouldn't at all influence the outcome of the game, because at the end of the day, no matter how incompetent a referee is, if you are the best team in history, if you are the best team in the world, you should be able to win that game no matter what. Because even a corrupted referee, we are not talking about a referee that simply made a mistake, which in my opinion I didn't even consider that a mistake, but let's say, but it's such a big club, you should be able to win even with a corrupted referee. Because if you are good, not even a corrupted referee could beat you. And that has been proven throughout history, and there are so many cases, I do not even have to name them. But blaming it on external circumstances, it's extremely stupid and extremely cowardly. I've been really disappointed by the speech of these players, by the speech of even of their president, Florentino Perez. I think that they really ashamed the club, and people in these kind of positions should never declare the things that they declared and should never have the attitude that they had. Again, in these kind of moments, you should be a man and own your actions and own the consequences of your actions. So this was it for today's video, you guys. I hope you guys liked it. I feel like the structuring of this video was a bit chaotic, and I really want you guys to give me your feedback on this, because I really do not know how to structure my videos. I feel like sometimes it can be very random and I just throw random information, and I feel like I don't always make a smooth transition between them. But that's because in a game, and especially if I make like a study case throughout an entire season, I just get so many random ideas and I just put them on paper, and when I have to record a video, I don't really know exactly how to connect all of them. So if you guys have any feedback on my structuring, please let me know. It would be extremely helpful. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share it to your friends if you think that any of this information might be useful to them, comment down below any suggestion for me to improve and stuff like that, and subscribe to keep in tune with all of my uploads. Okay, you guys, bye!